Chapter 23. The Wizard of Oz finds Alice in Wonderland. And they meet the Wicked Witch of the West.
The reporter's memo. Witnessing a homicide can create what psychologists call an emotional vortex. Witnesses experience a whirlwind of emotions. There was a dynamic at work in the Anthony family that reimagined reality into something I was drawn to call Casey's world. The world Casey inhabited made living in Hope Spring Drive a fantasy for her. Not unlike what the female characters experienced in stories from The Wizard of Oz or Alice in Wonderland. Her child's homicide affected her like Dorothy's experience with the tornado's torrent of winds that swept Dorothy out of Kansas and into the unreal world of Oz. These classic stories described a parallel universe, very much like Cindy's Hope Spring Drive. The court's evidence files immersed my narrator and me into that alternative universe. The family's home was in Orlando, and appropriately, it seems, their reality was a Disney-esque version of Oz's Emerald City. The Anthonys had their own mythical character, the family created and inserted into the script themselves. Zanny the Nanny.
His memo compared the Anthony family to characters we can recall from The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland stories. He chose wonderful metaphors. I had to agree that we were chronicling a bizarre and tragic family history that moved in and out of parallel universes. My hope as the narrator has been to find justice for the silent victim of this family's world. Their dead child, Kaylee. Casey's 2-year-old daughter symbolized Dorothy's ruby red slippers. Because Dorothy dreamed her slippers would connect her to the real world she lost, her home in Kansas. Alice in Wonderland was the other fantasy book metaphor to emerge from the court's evidence files. In Alice, an immature girl falls down a rabbit hole and finds herself in an alternative universe, created by adults. The Hope Spring Drive home functioned like that rabbit hole in Alice's story. Cindy and George couldn't live with Kaylee's paternity threatening them. They had to remove the threat of her unknown paternity by removing Kaylee. They ultimately succeeded by homicide. The drama in the home on Hope Spring Drive is torn from the pages of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. Cindy's parallel universe was reality inside Hope Spring Drive. For Casey, the only thing that was real was Kaylee. Quote from Alice in Wonderland. If I had a world of my own, everything would be nonsense. Nothing would be what it is, because everything would be what it isn't. My reporter called my attention to the improbably named street, Hope Spring Drive, where the drama of a family's cover-up of their child's murder was unfolding in front of us. He told me the world surrounding the family's cul-de-sac in Orlando could easily have been a stage set for The Land of Oz or the Alice in Wonderland films. He expected that the detectives should have seen that Casey was a living model for the roles of Dorothy and Alice. I was not convinced, but I knew the investigators from day one saw the missing child's mother as someone who should be executed by the state for murdering her daughter, Kaylee. On some days, I did almost imagine Cindy, the alpha, was a living incarnation of the Queen of Hearts, from the Alice book. The Queen said, "I warn you, child, if I lose my temper, you lose your head."